Hello. Hello. It is uh, May 5th, 2014. Is it Cinco de Mayo? Cinco, but unos, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. Anyway, I wanted to finally jump in and make a video about the Cliven Bundy situation. I don't think I've mentioned that. Now, I have on my blog in the last few days put some YouTube videos, but don't think I've said anything about it at all until now, and wanted to comment about it. And Cliven Bundy is the rancher out in, is it Nevada, who hasn't been paying his grazing fee for his cattle for the 20 years now. He refuses to pay it, and he owes the federal government, so he owes United States taxpayers about $1 million. Other ranchers out there have been paying it. And a lot of people, I think everybody has commented that, he's just a freeloader. He's one of those people, and all his supporters are, who complain about welfare mothers and people getting welfare and people getting, and of course, he's been getting welfare. He's one of the welfare mothers. He's one of the cheaters. And of course, a, a welfare mother is it's something the Republicans created. I mean, you can always find with any program somebody someplace who's abusing, whether it's uh, people who are taking disability from some job and they're not really disabled, or you can, and I think the other day somebody uh, gave some statistics that, because I worked with a lot of people in the past, and they were talking, oh, the people on welfare, oh, those welfare people, they're just, and I think somebody the other day said that 4% of Americans, get welfare. Now, out of that 4%, there's probably some in there, well, there are, who, shouldn't be getting it and don't deserve it. But that's with any program. But anyway, this it's hard to say Al Bundy. Cliven Bundy out there is, he's uh, now the land management people, where the government has repeatedly taken him to court, and the courts have repeatedly, the state courts and the federal courts have ruled, I mean, there's no question about it that he owes the money and that he should pay, and have ordered him to pay. And I guess I'm not sure at what point have ordered the government, go get your money. But the Fox News made him into a hero, and the right wing and the all of those people, a bunch of them went out there. Well, the Bureau of Land Management, I guess it is, seized his cattle, which were on federal land. They're not on his property, and they seized them. And a bunch of his supporters went out there armed, militia and oath keepers uh, went out there armed, and were ready to shoot it out and attack government employees. And the government wisely decided, okay, this is not worth a shootout, and just let him get his cattle back. Uh, Now, those people that, well, one thing, I watched a video from some of the people who are gun enthusiasts, uh, that I can't remember but I watched the first, a video where they had gone out there, and then they'd come back, and they said, which was kind of interesting. they said, "Oh man, now these are his supporters. They went out there to support him. They're also big time gun enthusiasts and anti, government and all that kind of stuff." And they came back and they said, "Oh man, there are some fucking crazy people out there. There's some, these guys were saying, hey, I was in the military and I was in combat, but these people out here, a lot of those people out there are itching for a shootout and they don't know what combat is and they don't know what. So I was kind of surprised about that. Um, now, Cliven Bundy, these people said, oh, uh, Cliven Bundy, wonderful, patriotic constitutionalist. Constitutionalist, the way these people mean it is someone who doesn't believe, someone they believe that they believe in the Constitution. They have no idea what the Constitution says. They believe in the Second Amendment, which they misinterpret, and unfortunately, the Supreme Court has misinterpreted it. And when they do it, that's the law. I mean, when the Supreme Court rules, that's the law, and they're right, and I'm wrong. But the Second Amendment was never intended that your crazy uncle, can own a machine gun and a bazooka and hand grenades and this type of stuff. It was written and clearly uh, it was that the states could have militias. And not that the states could have militias so that they could protect themselves from the big bad federal government, so that they could have militias so that if the government needed troops because England came back or Spain or somebody decided or Canada decided to attack us or something, so we would have troops because they didn't anticipate that the federal government would have a large standing army. In fact, the states, they didn't want that because they were concerned with, uh, you know, a king being, uh, but these people are constitutionalists and they don't believe in they think they do. They don't believe in the First Amendment. They don't believe in the Fourth Amendment. They think they do, and they don't believe in any of the rest of the amendments, or they think they do, and they misinterpret it. They don't understand them. So anyway, they're constitutionalists. Also, these people that go out there are, of course, they're all gun nuts, and they're all anti-government, which is interesting. This Clyde Bundy, I saw the pictures of him on television riding on his horse, with a gigantic American flag flying, and then I saw him when he was being interviewed, gigantic American flag in the background. But then he says right there, I don't believe in the federal government. Oh no, I mean, I don't even recognize that there's any federal government. I just recognize the state government. Of course, he doesn't recognize the state government's court orders ordering him to, pay his uh, fees that he owes. Interesting too, he doesn't believe in the federal government. So does that mean that Clyde Bundy and his family and his supporters, that the ones that went out there, did they not drive on the federal highways that the federal government had built? Did they not fly out there on aircraft? The federal aviation had been the federal government, airports and infrastructure and inspections and all that type of stuff. I heard some of the videos where they were talking about where that was the Oath Keepers. We set up a ham radio communication system for the ham radio, Federal Communications Commission, federal government, who specifies what frequencies and power limits that can be used, and they don't. So these people are. It'd be interesting to do a survey. Of course, these people that went out there wouldn't want to give the information. It'd be interesting to see if the supporters that went out there, the gun nuts, uh, do a little survey. If you could do one of them, you'd find that they are big time Second Amendment. Oh, they love the guns. They love the guns. And you'd also find that if you could do a little survey and say, if it were 1860, would you be on the side of the Union or would you be on the side of the Confederate States of America? You know the answer to that. These people that are constitutionalists, that are we believe in the Constitution and this type of stuff. They're they're states' rights people. I mean, uh, so anyway, this first video that I saw from you on YouTube or whatever, where these people went out there when they came back and they said, "Oh man, there's some fucking crazy people out there." Uh, they said, "Oh, Bundy, a real American, oh, a God-fearing Christian man. He's got a Christian family, and he's got his own." His was one guy said, "Oh, his children," and he's got like 14 of them. His children were out there in the swimming pool, and you could hear their laughter, rolling through the hills and the mountains. These sweet, innocent Christian children in a Christian family, and so all these people went out there. Now, um, first off, I'm going to come back to this. Well, what I wanted to mention was that I don't want to get ahead of myself. So these people that went out there, militias and the oath keepers, and all these uh, anti-government people or whatever, they went out there. I should say something about the oath keepers. The oath keepers are, it's my understanding, that they are a front group for the John Birch Society. Now, the John Birch Society started, I think, after World War II, and it's an extreme right-wing, communistic type of organization. Of course, their whole thing was that they were anti-communist. They're just foaming at the mouth, have been since and to them, uh, from the very beginning, Franklin D. Roosevelt, one of our greatest presidents of all time. You have George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Franklin D. Roosevelt was a communist, or a rabid communist. And then Harry Truman, who also surprisingly is in the top five of great presidents, and to him the John Birch Society, communist. Oh, it's a terrible communist. They're really the communist type of organization. It's a front group, and they set up front groups, and they operate in the way that the Communist Party always operated. And that gets me on to the Communist Party. Right wing reminds me a lot of the Communist Party, although their big thing is that they're so anti. I mean, to the right wing, Canada is a communist country, and of course, Sweden and Denmark and those countries, well, and Europe are communist. But it's just funny. They remind me of the communists in a whole kind of, and some of those I have mentioned before. So you've got these people, militias and gun crazy people, who go out there to support uh, Cliven Bundy. Now, what I'd like to say to those people, if they happen to be watching this video, which they're probably not, although I watched some of their videos and I'll be commenting on that here in a little bit. They went out there, and let me tell you something. They went out there, and I'm sure they met some people that they just loved. Oh, these mountain men and these militia people and these oath keepers and everything went out there, and they made some good contacts. Let me tell you, I don't know how many federal agents were out there, but there were a bunch. And the very ones that these survivalist and gun crazy people and people that are paranoid that the government is going to do stuff to them, and that think they have to be armed so they can do a Red Dawn type of fight against the federal government, which they don't recognize. Uh, these guys that went out there, the very people that they made the contacts with, the ones they were probably taking orders from, the ones that probably Bundy said, okay, these are my people that are in charge here. These are the ones, and these, and the very, but anyway, the very ones that they went out there and they said, oh man, I just made this contact with this. You know, they go back home and tell their buddies, oh, I made contact with this guy and he's really, oh man, he's really great. He's really wonderful. And, he's going to get us. And I don't know what it is, I was sitting around the campfire and I was telling him it's just unfair that the federal government charges fantastic fees for silencers or whatever, and it's against the law unless you get this permit and that type of stuff. And this guy he told me he can get me silencers. They won't cost me $600 each for my guns. He can get them for $60 each. And I made it, whatever, or there'll be something else like that. Well, you were just dealing with the federal government, federal agent or whatever. Now there's another group of people. Okay, hang on a second. Hello. Yeah, let me call you back. I'm making a YouTube video. Bye-bye. I could cut that out, but I'm not going to. Give you a little flavor of my life. That's my ex-wife. I've been divorced for, I think, let's see, 30 years, over 30 years. That's my ex-wife. God help me. Where was I? Oh, okay. These guys who went out there, they made contact with, I'm sure, federal government agents. So just sleep, for you, sleep well tonight, Yep, sleep well. Of course, when you were driving down a highway, I'm sure every license plate was scanned. Of course, these people are already paranoid because the video I watched or whatever, they said, oh, we heard that the federal government was going to swear out arrest warrants for every one of us who came out there. Anyway, so you have those, you have the federal agents there. Now you have another group of people, and I've worked with some of these guys and met some of them and run across them or whatever. And there was a book years ago which I read, which I can't remember a word now of what it says, but called True Believers. And there are people, especially I think men, but maybe I'm being sexist, who they're true believers, and you'd think, like these people that are in the Nazis or the Klan or the survivalist group or whatever, you'd think, well, like take the ones that are in the Klan, you take the ones that are in the Klan, and you think, okay, that's the way they are, they're Klan members, and that's their beliefs or whatever. The truth is these people they're just looking for something, and they could be in the Klan today, and they could be in what's a black group? Can't think of or they could be in something else. They could be extremely religious. They're looking for something, and of course they latch onto it, and they'll probably stay with that. But they just want something, and they want something where it clicks with them, or they have no, it's not, they're just looking for something, and preferably something with flags flying and with a neat looking uniform, and something where they can carry a gun or a sword. I mean, sword would probably be better, or a spear. I mean, they're just looking for something. Now those guys, there are some of those guys who naturally would be attracted to that type of a situation out there, to going out to that situation, and to the people that were out there, the ones who've already made contact unknowingly with the federal agents or whatever. Those people those true believers that were out there who were so enthusiastic and may have been, you know, walking around and admiring you and your weapons and asking you questions and wanting to join you and what can they do? Those people will switch alliances in a second. If down the road a piece the federal government contacts them and says, you know, we would like for you to be a super secret agent for the federal government, and we will give you a badge. They want a second. They'll betray you. You're dead meat because they don't really have any conviction. They think they do, but you know, they just want this this feeling. They just want this belonging or this being important or whatever. So you're fucking dead meat. Now the other group of people that were out there, they're you. Yep, they're you. The other group that was out there. Oh man, I mean the loyal, you know, the constitutional states' rights. We don't want any communism. We don't want any black man president of the United States, and they're all manly guns. How many guns do I have? I got 20. I got 20 guns. Got an assault rifle. I got I got all this ammunition. I got ammunition buried in the ground. And these are your buddies, right? And you're one of them. You are fucking screwed. That federal agent that made contact with you that you don't know about, the one that's going to get you the silencers or the hand grenades or the explosives or something, whatever he was charismatic and whatever. When they arrest your ass for child pornography or whatever you fucking do, gun violations, not having permits, having an automatic weapon when you're not supposed to, or whatever you fucking do, and the police are going to drag your fucking ass into local jail or the county jail or federal jail or something. They're going to drag you in. And for a little bit, you're going to be, fuck you, motherfuckers. Yeah, you're going to be tough. And then they're going to spell out to you what the charges are against you. And they're going to let you know, you're going to be spending the rest of your fucking life in prison. That's the way it is. Oh, by the way, you'll be a felon and you'll never be able to legally own or possess or be around any kind of weapons or whatever. You're going to start fucking crying your eyes out. Please don't do this to me. Don't take my guns away from me. Not my guns. And then they're going to make you an offer. Tell us about these guys that you were out there at that Bundy ranch with and back home. Tell us, and you'll walk free. You'll get to keep your guns. They'll make you a deal. And you know what? You'll fucking brat out your buddies. You'll tell on them and you'll save your ass. And that's just the way it is. Now, did I cover everything? I couldn't have covered. Oh, no, I didn't. Getting to the best, remember when I mentioned the Bundy's children were there. We went out to protect Cliven Bundy, and his children were playing there, and they were swimming in the swimming pool and all that kind of stuff. These militia people that went out there, they've got videos up longer than this one. This one's 24 minutes. I watched one. It was over an hour. I think the other one was, I forget how many minutes. And there's another one that's, they went out there and to protect the Bundy family. And what did they do? They assaulted each other at least you know, assault and battery. And the two that I know, because their videos up by the Oath Keepers, were Oath Keepers or whatever. The militia or the mountain men or whatever fucking attacked them, yelled and screamed and assaulted them, and then committed battery on them, knocking two of them to the ground or whatever. And then their videos and the other side and another group or whatever, there's talk about it just about came to gunfire. They were threatening each other, and people were going, not just in this, not that instance I told you about, but in some others, they were, uh, and you can watch I'll put the links to their video. It was like, fucking draw on me, you motherfucker. I'll fucking kill you right here. Go ahead and draw your gun on. That's the situation that was out there. I'm sure that was very safe for those children. I'm sure it was very safe for that Bundy family that you were trying to protect, that you have crazy people out there who are itching and just dying to shoot it out with these other people, not with the federal government. Of course, they wanted to shoot out with the federal government, but they were going to shoot it out with each other over various things. They're accusing each other of stealing things from each other. And then some of the guys, which I can sympathize with, the Oath Keepers claim that, well, of course, the one side claims that the Oath Keepers bugged out. They were frightened. They were little children, and they left the compound and they went out. And of course, the Oath Keepers say, they were out patrolling the perimeter zones or whatever. And I think it was the Oath Keepers. I might have got mixed up in which group it was. And I can sympathize with this. I've sort of been in that sort of a situation. They claimed they were outside in the mountains in the hill. I'm not sure there's any mountains in Nevada, but they were out there patrolling the area, and they saw a UPS truck, suspicious UPS truck. That's it. What did you see when you were patrolling all this time? Day and night or whatever. We saw a UPS truck. It looked suspicious. It was parked there, and then it was parked over there. We saw you. But anyway, these guys were out patrolling or whatever, and then their complaint was, well, all these people that went out there, they were all having a big tailgating party, like a tailgating party at the Bundy Ranch with bonfires and whatever, and they're all having barbecue and they're having food and they're eating food, and people, supporters, are coming into the campsite and giving donations of supplies and food and money to these people who aren't doing anything except having a big fucking tailgating party, while we're out here in the wilderness and we're not getting any of the food and we're not getting any of the money. I can sort of sympathize with that. I was working at a hospital and a disaster happened in Kansas City, Missouri, the Regency Hyatt disaster. Forget how many, 100 people or over 100 people were killed or whatever. Skywalk fell. We rotated to this hospital every 2 hours, and so I ended up being in this at the emergency room when this disaster happened, and so executives and people get called in, extra people get called into the hospital. So the department heads or whatever, director of maintenance or whatever, pulls in and he parks out in the fucking emergency lot or whatever. So I started out there, and my supervisor was there, and he said, "What are you doing?" I'm telling him he can't park there, that he has to park in the parking lot. That's Mr. So-and-so, the director. I said, "I know who it is, director of plant operations or whatever. He can't fucking park there." And I went out, and so as soon as I went out there, the guy recognized, he knew he was wrong, and so I went out there, and my supervisor was, "That's Mr. So-and-so. He's director of purchase." So before long, my supervisor says, "Jim, I need for you to go down by surgery or whatever." So I went down by surgery. That was being my post. Nothing going on down there. I was down there all by myself, and they were bringing food to, they were bringing food to the guys that were up at the emergency room entrance and that type of stuff. They were getting sandwiches and drinks, and I was down there standing in an empty hallway. So I can sympathize with these oath keepers. The the other thing on this, well, the oath keepers apparently got intel. They got intel, a contact with a sheriff's department that they have contact with, contacted them and said that the Attorney General of the United States has authorized drone strikes on the Bundy Ranch. That drones are going to be coming over and blasting the ranch house and machine gunning the children that are in the swimming pool and going to annihilate all of us. They got this intel. And God almighty, fucking idiots. So that was part of the fight stuff that was going on. So the other side claims that got into it with the oath takers or keepers or what the oath keepers. I told you, is a front group for a right-wing extremist group. And it's funny, the oath takers. And what their deal is apparently is, they're law enforcement officers and sheriffs and people like that. Of course, I'm sure anybody could join. I'm sure the true believers join, and the crazies join. But it's funny that they call themselves the oath takers because what they've sworn, that they will, as police officers or law enforcement or military, whatever, they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, or whatever. And then their oath that they're taking, the oath that they've taken is that if the federal government or some other state or whatever tells us to confiscate guns, which isn't going to happen, but do something, that we're not going to obey those. We're not going to obey those laws. They're going to pick and choose. They swore an oath, that they would defend the Constitution, and now they take a new oath to a extremist organization. So anyway, they were endangering. Of course, it turns out you heard the fact. I mean, that surprise, surprise. Cliven Bundy, who doesn't recognize the United States of America, who rides a horse with a gigantic American flag, doesn't, is racist. Surprise, were you surprised that he was racist? I imagine most of those people who were there were racist. Anyway, I think I covered, well, okay, the one video which, do I want to swing? I could swing the thing around here and let me do it. I could edit it in, but I don't want to do, I could do it the neat way, but I'll just go to my blog. I got to drag the camera over here so I can see what you're seeing. So let me do that. Okay. Okay. Now here's one of the videos, which is not the most interesting, but this is a guy on a I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation. That's a guy who's is on this show, The Liberty Tree, which is one of these. Well, it's very anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic. It's an anti-Semitic uh, site and program, and I think that's like, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's like 80% of their thing is that they're anti-Jewish, but then they're also conspiracy theories and the government and all this type of stuff. But that, I didn't watch all. Well, it's only 28 minutes. But he went out there. This guy went out there, Roy Potter, and he was telling, what he saw that, and uh, no, okay, was that okay? Yeah, who's this one? Let's see. It got more than I thought. This is okay. This is the one This is an hour and uh, 9 minutes.
So right off the bat, everybody says it's futile to resist. I would remind everybody again, really? We do outnumber them.
We got you, Arizona.
Okay, Arizona.
Okay. I have some things, and it's kind of fortunate you're just touching on this.
So that's one I think I was thinking of. I don't know how that other one got in, but yeah, that guy. I watched 20 minutes of it or something, and he just going through, these people that came out here, or a bunch of them were crazy, and they didn't bring, they weren't hydrating themselves enough, and they were dressed in black camouflage, and just going through point by point of what he, his expert opinion. This is the video. These are the people. This guy here was appointed to be in charge of the whole thing by the Bundys. He was supposed to be the head guy. But
and these are things that we live by throughout our entire lives. And that is, you do not ever leave a man behind on the battlefield. You do not ever turn tail and run in the face of danger. You do not ever leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy. And you drive on towards the objective, even if you're the last man standing. This is...
they were attacking the Oath Keepers. I'm not sure whether their people physically were the ones that attacked them, but they are accusing the Oath Keepers of, bugging out and leaving the area and all that type of stuff, which the Oath Keepers did. But the Oath Keepers say that they were outside patrolling and that they had already decided, and the Oath Keepers, of course, they have their video in response to that.
They got to make sure that they don't have people on their ranch that are going to discredit the entire movement by getting in a firefight. And there were at least two close call firefights that only didn't happen because our guys maintained their cool and let other people put them in danger. Discipline. That's all we got to say.
Oh, last one.
Scouts happen. That's all I got to say.
They had a lot more to say than that. That's towards the end of the video, I think. So right now, there are a bunch of people out there. There are still a bunch of these people that are still out there at the Bundy Ranch or whatever, providing security or whatever. And apparently the locals, people who live out there, are being stopped. I mean, a lot of these people probably who are out there in that area, it's kind of remote, or a lot of these Americans who are out there are people who want to be left alone, want to, and now there are terrorist, American Taliban type militias, uh, states' rights or writers, constitutionalists are out there that are checking, people and make sure who, they're, and now some of the local congressmen out there who for that area and some other people in that state law or legislators or whatever are trying to figure how in the hell do we get these fucking crazy people out of here? And they do need to get them out of there because came very close to having, a shootout, not with the federal government, but with each other. And the longer these people are out there, the more chance that something is going to happen. And, they're going to stop one of the people who legitimately lives out there and accidentally shoot them or shoot them on purpose, or the people who live out there are going to say, "You're not fucking stopping me," and it's just chaos, anarchy, and stupidity. People think by reading my blog over the years, and I've been blogging since 1982, people think that I'm anti-gun. I'm not anti-gun. But you know something? It's strange and crazy and bizarre or whatever, but these people who are fanatic, gun crazy people, those are the people who shouldn't have guns. I'm not worried about my next door neighbor, having a gun for self-defense or target practice or just because he likes to collect, you know, likes to collect guns because they're well made and, we got mahogany stocks and machine, everything fits just well. And I mean, they look good. I mean, I have no problem with that type of, I carried a gun every day for 30 years. I had to. I got rid of it when I no longer had to do that type of work again. I don't own a firearm, but I don't have any objection to, to Americans owning handguns. We do need uh, better regulations and record keeping and that type registration and that type of stuff. But I'm not in favor of confiscation of guns or whatever. But it's just, I don't know whether you'd call it it's just that the ones who are so fucking crazy, and some of them are people that I've worked with for years and really nice people, but on the subject of guns, the guys, and I never knew a woman, but I'm sure there are some, but the guys are fucking crazy, and those are the people, the people who are. I worked with guys who were decent, good human beings. I mean, the kind of person you want as a neighbor, and everything. But on the subject of guns, they wanted a whole bunch of guns. They bought canisters so they could bury ammunition or whatever. And uh, when I was a police officer, and when I had a full county commission or whatever, uh, they were telling me, if the law enforcement ever comes to take my guns, I'll shoot it out with them. I'll kill. This is a guy with two little kids and a beautiful wife and a nice home and everything, and he is, it's there's something. So it's just I don't know what the answer is, but the people who are so crazy on this are the people who shouldn't have guns. Sort of when I worked at a hospital and the director of security had me doing the interviewing for, deciding who interviewing. I mean, I always left the final decision up to him. He never said that, but I mean, I would interview him and then say, hey, I think this is a good, I would, and I was surprised because I'd never interviewed really people and I was surprised that I did such a good job. And the director of human resources, whatever, said, Jim, I really like you doing these interviews. You do, because the director of security very smart man, but he would, like if it was a woman he was interviewing, he would say, okay, who's going to be taking care of your kids if we hire you? Who's going to be taking care of your kids when you get sick? Which you really can't do unless he was, which he wouldn't, unless you were going to be asking the male too, the father, if you're going to, unless you're going to be asking him, okay, if your kids get, and he did stuff that he shouldn't do, so the director, that sort of made me feel good that the head, which he was a really nice guy, smart too. Also, the director of human relations said, that he loved me doing the interviewing, and I would spell it out. Everything would be, they wouldn't really have to ask me a question. I spelled everything out to them as I was interviewing them. Hours, wages, everything, was all spelled out to them. And then I'd say, okay, anything you want to ask, you have any questions or whatever. And, occasionally I'd get the guy, the first question is, where of course, it was already spelled out that you were armed, but okay, it would be, a gun. He wanted to, okay, I get a gun, right? I can take of course, you had your own gun, but I get to take the gun home with me. It was just, and I knew, scratch him off. If the person said, okay, you said that I wouldn't have weekends off until I got, but, well, when do I get a merit? Of course, I spelled that out. I spelled everything out to them. But still, when they asked those questions, okay, but when they was, those are the people you want to eliminate. Not eliminate, okay, don't, because these oath keepers and these people are going to think, okay, Jim Howard called for the Attorney General to strike us with a drone strike. God help us. I'd like to win a lottery. I'd fucking leave the United States. It has become, the Republicans, not just recently, but and the right wing, have just about made, which is what they want to do, just about made the system not work here in the United States. If I'd win a lottery and I'd have some money, I'd be living in Ireland or the Canada. Well, too cold in Canada. I would actually leave. That's sad. Anyway, thanks for watching.